It's 3:30 a.m. and this morning I'm off to the airport for a couple of weeks. I'm going to leave the Tesla in the car park because I was a little bit wary about this to start with, thinking, what's the battery going to be like when I get back, and etc. etc. But I've done some testing of it before I've gone, looked at the best settings, and I'm going to share those with you. So if you're going to go to the airport, you can go away with a lot of confidence that your battery's going to be good when you get back to your car. Let's have a look at the settings we use. So the first thing I've done is up the limit on here to the maximum. Usually we have it on the day, probably about 85%, but now I've done it right up to the full trip so we can maximise the amount of miles that we can do to start with. The next thing we want to do is make sure that the car is going to be using the least battery it can while we're actually parked. So we're going to go into the settings menu, and then we're going to go into safety and security. And here, make sure that sentry mode is turned off. If it's on, it's going to be using all the cameras all the time to look at anything that's going on. So I want to make sure that's switched off. And the other thing to make sure in the same settings a bit further down is this data sharing. Go into here and you'll see there's these data sharing options. And this top one here is about sending video clips. So I want to make sure that says no. We don't want the car uploading information while we are away. And this bottom one is more about other data. Again, you have this switched off. If you switch this off, it will stop autopilot working. But again, you can switch it back on later. But if you switch off all data shared, submit, and now the car's good to go. It's going to use hardly any power when we're away. So I'll take a quick picture when we get to the airport to show you how many miles there's currently left. So arrived here, there's 150 miles left on my range. Let's see what it is in a couple of weeks' time. The 2 weeks are over, we've had a great time. Now it's time to check and see if my theory on the battery is right.
Probably not.
I think we should probably have between 120 130 miles left. But let's open up the car and hope it does open and then find out what we've got. So there we go, 121. So it's lost 29 miles over 14 days, which isn't bad at all really. It's about just over 2 miles a day. In summary, these are the settings that you want to switch off: the sentry mode, the data sending information back to Tesla. You want to charge up the car to the maximum before you take the trip. And there's other things like avoid using your app on your phone to contact the car while you're away. Every time you see how much battery's left, it's going to wake up the car and it's going to use battery, and it's going to be a while before the car goes back to sleep again. So you just got to trust that it's going to be okay when you get back. Just forget the app. In regards to sentry mode, you might think, well, I'd really like to have sentry mode on while I'm away in case somebody scratches my car. But yes, that might happen. But the problem is sentry mode, when you've got it on, it was eating perhaps 7 miles a day out of your range. So in 2 weeks, it's going to eat perhaps 100 miles of range out of your car, which is really probably the difference between getting home and not getting home. One other thing is obviously make sure that you know on the way back that there is a charging station. Be aware of where your local charging station to the airport is, so that if you do have any issues when you get back to the car, that you know where to go to, basically. If you're still a little bit unsure, then what I suggest is do a series of experiments a few days before. Turn these things off. Go in every morning at a certain time and look at what the battery drainage is. Experiment around to see how many miles you are losing, and then you can work out what you need to do to make it work for you. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this video has helped you have a more peaceful holiday, relaxing, that your car's going to work when you get back to the airport. Subscribe if you like the channel, and I'll see you in the next video.